All right, Adam. This time I decided what we're not going to talk about is the Jake Wollman trade, seeing as we're both Red Wings fans. But luckily, this is not a hockey podcast for our listeners. The chances are low of that happening, but never zero. So, with that, welcome to the Automotive Misconduct Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dustin.
And I'm Adam.
With us today is Bryan Crane from Yearview Racing. Bryan and Adam just completed the Six Summer Dragon Drive event a couple weeks ago. So we're going to have them on and tell their story.
Oh,
What a story it is.
Yeah, it was quite the event.
Mm-hmm.
It's my first time.
So
I'll let Bryan lead the way on this one. He's
well,
Yeah.
I guess where do you want to start, dude? Because this was probably one of the most highly emotional weeks that we've ever had with this car. Speaking of like ups and downs, goods and bads, but I mean, where do we even begin?
well, you can start by you can actually give a little bit of an insight on the car. And for those that maybe
Okay.
don't know, most of the people that do watch this already have
Right.
seen the car, but you never know. So give us a little rundown on what you got in that unit.
Okay. So the car is a 2003 Cobra Mustang, modular head shop built 4.6 liter, custom turbo kit done by our friend Jeff Chandler at Pure Performance. It's got a big precision on it, big single 94 102, down straight out the bumper. So it makes loud pop bang noises on the chip, as y'all know. Still a T56 car. We're running a Ram adjustable clutch, solid axle swapped, 35 spline components, radial valve Menskers in the rear and radial valve Vikings in the front. Team Z everything as far as suspension goes, cage, tube front end, et cetera, et cetera. So it'd be easier to list what hasn't been touched on the car than what has been. But the car, for Six Summer, due to the cage cert, we're limited to 850 type of stuff, but the car has been a best of 792 at 182 at World Cup, with a lot more in the tank. We're just trying to figure out how to do it. So
And a stick shift car.
and a stick shift car, because we like to work hard, apparently.
Yeah.
So, but that's just the gist of it. My Instagram is yourview_racing, and then Yourview Racing on Facebook. There's tons of history on the car on those two pages, as Adam knows well, because Adam's been working with the car since 2016 2017 now. So you've seen it from back when it was just a simple stock motor blower car to where it is now.
Yep.
So yeah, if you want to get more history, whoever's listening out there, just go check out the Instagram stuff and the Facebook stuff. There's long history on those pages. So
Now we can jump off into Streetcar Takeover, I suppose, now that you gave them a little bit of info on the car.
man, so we went into Streetcar Takeover, Michigan. For one, it was on the way out to where we were headed on the Saturday, and Six Summer isn't cheap, so we wanted to do our best to try to get a couple bucks in our pocket for the trip. So what happened there, we made a test pass, and what happened? I think first pass, it wasn't bad. I think it shook the tire on the top of first a little bit, but other than that, it was pretty clean. And then we went into round one of the stick shift event. There was only 3 cars, so a little bit light turnout. Our pal Tyler Garlock, and then a gentleman with was it Pro Charged Grand Sport or something like that.
Yep.
So Tyler got the bye. We drew the Grand Sport, and we had a little mishap on the tree. We came into bulb 2, but we must have just barely came into bulb 2, and the bulb flickered. And then the other guy came in, and then we got timed out and we red lit, or something along those lines. I don't know. Damon Elf explained it to us really good, but it's the first time this has ever happened to us staging this car. Nothing tripped the beams. It was, solely how we came into bulb 2 and came in out. The light flickered a little bit, and it didn't like it. So we gave up that race, even though, I mean, the car made a lick that pass too. Like, it was drama free A to B. It was like our starting point for Six Summer. So first round duck status continues for us. But we were happy with the data that we collected at Streetcar Takeover, and we were pretty confident going into Six Summer. Confident enough to the point where we didn't even make a test pass on test and tech day. We said, screw it, we're gonna just tech in and then be ready for day one. And we're able to, relax with the guys on tech and test day. We went out and got some food out. I think it was, I don't know what town that was, if it was Bryan or another town that was nearby, but we went out, got some food, then relaxed and jumped into day one, which is where stuff, we had a pretty good day one. Day one was first pass. We clicked off like a 867, I believe, first pass. But we brought it back around to see if we can improve on it a little bit. But the clutch was a little bit hot. The 60 foot was a little bit worse than the first pass, about a 10th off. So that really hurt us on the time. But all through fourth gear, I hit the scramble button. So that helped kind of make up some time. And we ended up with an 862, which tied us in first place for day one, which was, a great start to the week. No drama, no BS.
Now, let me interject here. And this was my first time partaking in a drag and drive event, and it was absolutely everything that I thought it was going to be, and then some. The camaraderie that happens at this event is something I've never seen before. We're all racers and crewmen, but we were all friends. Seeing people that I had never met before. Like, you guys need anything, let us know. And we had to be mindful because only the driver and the crew person could wrench on the car at the track. So it wasn't, even if you had an issue, you couldn't have somebody else come help you out. Like, it's just you, your buddy, and whatever trailers and parts or, parts and wrenches you got on the trailer. It was an insane event. I so happy I went for sure, but I just wanted to throw that in there about how it was my first time as well. But
no, I mean, and I was telling you, because we did Six Summer with Alan Garrett last year. This was your first time. I'm like, you just have to go and you have to do it to experience it. Like, you can't explain it unless you do it.
Yeah,
and
it was nuts.
I'm just so happy that we were able to share that together.
Yeah.
And it was quite a time.
It was impressive.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
now
we get it after. I will say the driving part was I think the drives were better than the races. To be honest with you, it was so cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, our luck kind of ran out after that 2 and done at Bryan. So.
Yeah. So where do we even begin on that day? Well, if you were one of the first 7 or 8 pairs down when they called AB radial, you probably made a good pass. But after that, stuff got weird. We weren't the only ones that struggled.
The track was deceiving.
I mean, we went up and very, very deceiving. Had a lot of tack to it. Like, if you were to pull your foot up, but if you were to try to twist your foot and simulate any sort of movement of the tire, it was like grease. Like, you could just easily just spin your foot. Where the other tracks, none of the other tracks all week were like that. They had a nice base down, had something to work with. So we were in kind of a tailspin, not only because we were struggling and we were in our own heads, but the field was so close. And, the further you get into the week, you realize, it's harder to make up tenths in your average. So, the other 2 guys that we were in top 3 with were making good passes, and we were struggling. So we were chasing. And Adam knows very well with this car, we're very thorough and documented, and we take our time normally. We never hot lap this car. We never, rush this car ever. And we were not prepared to do half the stuff that we did on this ride. And not only that, and then the more we were struggling and more we're trying stuff that we've never tried before and it wasn't working, the more frustrated we got, the more we got in our own heads. And it did not make for a good day 2. And even into day 3, we struggled both days.
Made like 7 passes, I think it was, on day 2.
7 on day 2, and then 3 of them were in the last 45 minutes. We were like, I think we were the second from last car to go down before they called
Which
the race that
was
day.
like our Hail Mary, like throw all of our knowledge in the basket and see what we can get to stick. And I think it went an 81 that day, didn't it?
It was a 90,
90
I think,
was,
a 90.
yep.
Yeah, we didn't want to turn that in because that was like kind of like the start of the downfall there. We needed to turn in at least a 70 or an 80 to stay within, reach. But we couldn't kick this thing in the teeth hard enough on the starting line that day. With everything that we've done with this car, we've never been on a track that was like that, and it showed.
Yep.
We weren't prepared for it. So go from a day 1 high where everything's great to a day 2 low, and then that got in our heads the rest of the week. So we go into day 3, we're like, you know what? We're not going to walk into Tri-State, because Tri-State was supposed to be one of the tracks that was going to be the toughest. Cordova last year was great. So having Cordova not be so great this year was kind of sad. And then we go into Tri-State, which is old podunk NHRA track. We walked the starting line. You could tell they haven't scraped any of that stuff off in probably a
30
decade.
years. This track was, oh my God. Like, we're driving up to it, and it, like, the end, like, the road stops, and it, like, you make a right-hand turn into the track. If you go straight, it's just some dirt road. It's like Bob's Road. I don't know. And it's like, we turn into this place, and you can tell. I mean, they have their fancy NHRA banner from like 70s that has never been painted since the 70s. And this place is like, it makes Ubly look like the Taj Mahal. So we'll stick it that way.
Yeah. It was one thing about these tracks, not to take anything away from the event, but like you get some nostalgia at some of these tracks. Like that Tri-State track, like that's like probably one of the oldest drag strips that I've like gone to where you could actually feel it. You know what I mean? That you could actually feel the nostalgia there. So we go into Tri-State. We're like, okay, everyone's expecting this track to not be good. After our struggles we had at Cordova, we opted to keep our teeth kicked in staging process and launch in it, and try to, put boosting out the back because we didn't want to struggle again. So first pass was a thing of beauty until it wasn't, until the driver screwed up. I think I missed 4th gear again on that one. Was trying to, so that sucked because I think the 8th mile on that pass was like a 5.6 or something like that. I mean,
it was right
in the neighborhood.
Low 50s for sure. It was going to be.
Yeah. Because we were on the scramble. I was on the scramble and all that stuff. So,
but let's not forget here, like, you are driving a stick car, and I know you're hard on yourself, but you're driving a stick car, a 1,500 horsepower plus stick car, and you have a lot going on. So, like, I know you kind of beat yourself up about it, but I mean, it's a stick car. Like, there's a lot going on. Like, you have the hand, foot, mind, eye coordination is second to none. So, but yeah, I get it. I know what you're saying, but just be mindful. You're still rowing gears here, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This man just got 3rd place in a prestigious drag and drive event, and you'd think he'd never made a complete pass the whole week. Listening to him talk.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why we're so hard, like especially me, I'm so hard on ourselves, is because we had a tune-up that worked at multiple locations. We knew we had something that was gonna, we were the car to beat. I felt like, and then we ended up beating ourselves. So that was the hardest one to swallow, because that would have been, if we were able to see that pass through, that would have really put the heat on everybody. Mm-hmm. And then, not to jump ahead into day 4, where we did that 5.56 8th mile, and I missed the fucking gear again. So we had day 3 and day 4, we gave up 2 huge passes that would have really changed the course of how everything played out. Mm-hmm. And that's on me. So I definitely put a lot on myself for that. But so going back to Tri-State, everything was gravy. I mean, we didn't struggle on the starting line really at
No.
all at that track. It was because we did have to hot lap it a couple times. We were losing 60 foot
Yeah.
every pass. I think we cut like a high 1.3, then it went down to a high 1.4, then it went down to a high 1.5, and we're not changing anything. Everything's just getting hot. So it's just so we're trying to throw it out the back even harder. And I think there was one pass where the car ended up skating way out to the left.
Yeah, got way out of the groove.
So we struggled that day, but we turned in, I believe, an 81 that day. That's all we could muster. And the struggle bus continued, where everyone else, the other two guys, were making consistent good passes. So
We also,
off the Great Lakes we went.
But was it after day one? Or was it after day two? It was after day one. We found that boost leak in the parking lot at the hotel.
Oh, that was after day one.
So, and it's kind of making sense because like we went out there at day two and threw it on the two-step, and it made 19 pounds of boost on the two-step, about 6 more than it usually makes. And we found fittings that were on the wastegate for our 1/4-inch airline to run the boost controller. So it was leaking through there. So we fixed that to where it's, made sure nothing was leaking. So it made me feel like we built that whole boost ramp off false information. And then once we fixed it, everything was off after that. Like it hit the two-step so hard, it blew the bullhorn off the exhaust.
Oh, yeah.
Like it looks like just a flaccid dongle out there just flopping around.
I completely forgot about that, dude. Like that day, it flew the bullhorn off.
Yeah.
The mirror fell off on like the third pass because it shook the tire. I mean, like that car was just literally being shooken apart that day.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, oh my god!
But we can get back in. We went to Great Lakes for day 3 now, wasn't it?
Day 4.
Day 4 was great. Yeah, Great Lakes.
Day 4 is Great Lakes. That was we made our first pass was good. I think we put a 71 or a 77 on the board. Just we got something in our pocket, and we were just going to wait it out and see kind of what everyone else was doing and what was going on. And then we were able to get the car cooled down enough to where, like, if we had to make another one, it was going to be a good one. And that's where we watched 2 pairs in front of us. That's where we watched Bob put up that 856 and knew I had to do something. And that was the pass that we put up a 556 in the 8th, which would have translated to something in the 50 range. And I missed the gear. And that's we basically gave that one away. We tried to hot lap it again, and the clutch was not happy. Of course,
you could hear it.
We turned and burned that thing.
It was just annihilating through the clutch.
So, so that sucked. I think. So what did we turn in this? We turned in a 71 or a 77 that day.
71, I think.
And that basically solidified us because Damon Elf dropped out, and then that put Dan in 4th, and his average was like at 9.4 or something like that. So that basically solidified us for a 3rd place finish. But man, day 5, how everyone was kind of struggling, and we put one. We're basically a one and done. I think we put an 871 up on the board, and we're sitting there. Danny Hart was struggling a little bit, and then Bob was also struggling. So we're like, dude, if these guys don't turn in a time slip, we could somehow find a way into 1st place without even doing anything. Like we're just like watching it. It was that close. So I think we finished with a 77 average, and then Danny Hart and Bob were like within like 0.012 seconds of one another or something like that on the 1st and 2nd place finish. So I mean, like the field was like super close. It came literally down to the last pass to solidify everything. But trying to think like
a lot happened.
Trying to think what else. a lot happened, man.
I mean, we
literally blinked and the week was over.
That was like all on track stuff. I mean, we were going down the road because, as I said, you drive from track to track with your trailer attached and just cruising along. And all of a sudden, our buddy Dan, he's got a yellow Cobra stick car as well, and clutch cable decides to exit the chat. So here we are on the side of the highway, and 30 minutes later, Bryan goes and grabs his spare clutch cable. They got him and Dan, his buddy John, are freaking animals. Like I've never seen 2 more like savage mechanics in my entire life with like dedication that I've never seen out of anybody else. I mean, we all have that
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not going to give up attitude, but them two boys, I mean, Dan didn't have a running car like hours before Six Summer. So, like, the engine blew up on the dyno and, like, went to dyno the car to come to Six Summer and it nuked the
Right.
head gasket. So they had the engine tore down like on Wednesday, wasn't it? Wednesday, they tore the engine down. Overnight, rebuilt the engine, remachined the heads, new gaskets, threw it all back together Thursday morning, or it may have even been Friday morning, threw it back together and
Just Friday morning,
put it on
basically.
the dyno, just made a couple pulls just to make sure the engine wasn't even, I mean, didn't even turn it up, just like very low boost, very low timing. Like, okay, we're just going to creep into this. Yep, held together. Let's throw it on the trailer and get to the track. No,
Right,
no
right.
test passes. Went right there and literally unloaded day one and center down down through there, man. But
Unbelievable.
You hear so many stories about stuff like that in these drag and drive events. It's pretty crazy.
Well,
And I mean, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Uh, I guess just following you guys through the week, it definitely like I wanted to do this before, but like now I really want to do it
oh, dude.
Yep.
for sure. Like it's on my bucket
Well,
list.
Brian and I were actually
100%.
talking during some of our drives. I think you and Dom in that truck, like a truck is the way to go. If you're going to drag and
Oh
drive,
yeah.
the truck is the ticket.
Yeah.
Like literally throw all your stuff in the back and you can go and you can dial your own time. So
Mhm.
you go out there for a test and tune, the truck runs a 15.5 and you know what I'm saying? But
Right.
there
Yeah. Who
was an
cares?
old couple there in a Cadillac ATS running like 18, 19 second quarter miles, still doing this event, like,
Mhm.
and
Right.
living it up. You know, I mean, so I
Right.
agree. Like, if you could get a couple little mods on that truck, I guarantee you and Dom do that. Do the one here in Michigan, that drop the hammer one.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
where it's just between Milan 131 and Mid Michigan Motorplex. I mean, we were all talking about doing it next year. So, I mean,
Mhm.
a truck is definitely the ticket. If you're going to be able to do it in a truck, that you don't have to have a trailer. You just throw all your stuff in the bed of the
Right.
truck, offload it, swap your tires, and away you go.
Right.
Mhm.
That's a good idea.
You know, I mean, of course, the Charger would be a little more fun, but
Right.
then you have to have you
Yeah.
have to have a trailer or at least means of transporting tires and tools, and that's why I suggested the
Yeah.
truck. But man, I agree. If you ever on the fence of doing one, it's a must do.
Yeah. How about some of the rides that
Oh
that
yeah,
we've seen? It's just like some of the most off the wall stuff, but it's just so dang cool. I
yeah,
can't even like explain it. Like you just have to experience it. Like period. Like I could talk about it all you know for hours, but it ain't gonna make a difference until you
yeah.
actually do it and see it. So
I mean, we were sitting there in the hotel after day 4 when Dan had it second gear synchro or something went out of
yeah.
Dan's car. Him and John had that thing in the air, trans out, new one in a few hours, and you
Hmm.
know we're over there helping the Deal Brothers, who was probably
Oh
one of the
yeah.
coolest dedicated guys. Another team that is hardcore, ripping apart a 2,000 horsepower LS in the hotel parking lot doing head gaskets. So
Oh
you
yeah.
know, I mean, just the stuff is nuts. I mean, the stuff you see cruising down the road, just well, and the fans too. Like it
Yeah.
seems like all these little towns, you know, whether you're driving through and you see people just waving at you, people were sitting on their porches, you know, drinking beers and watching the cars cruise by. And I say, was it after day 2 when we were leaving Cordova? I think we went into Clinton, that little town where they
Hmm.
jotted us just south of the main road. And
Yeah.
of course, you know, Kyle Loftus and 1320 filed this thing, you know, follow this deal. And we were in a bad mood to say the least after day 2.
Oh, we were not happy.
I mean, we were piloting the struggle bus like together. Like it was bad. Very few times we like, dude, I'm just going to sit here in silence. We're not going to turn the radio on. Like it was bad. But we pull into this
Yeah.
deal and there's cops and fire trucks and people standing everywhere. They had a huge ladder truck with a big ass American flag flowing, and they had a little burnout box. And so Bryan throws it up on the two step and gives her the pop, pop, bang, and does a little burnout. And immediately our problems in life were over. Like,
We just looked at each other and we're like,
okay, we're good.
Yeah.
we're good now.
Right.
How about the Bernie on on day 4 though?
Oh,
that last day,
yeah, that one was a lot better. A little more wheel speed to that one. And,
had a lot more wheel speed.
but again, influenced by Kyle Loftus in 1320. I mean, it seemed like everywhere that dude was, like there was a camera and a water box. So, I mean, like I said, you only have one choice when that stuff comes about. So,
Yep, doesn't matter. There's only one choice.
I mean, burnouts
do
everywhere.
it.
Because you had to drive from track to track, and while you're driving, you can't just pick your route. Like they literally have a designated route you have to take, and along that route is checkpoints. So you would have to go there, take a picture of your car in front of the checkpoint. I mean, you can stay there, hang out. Most places were really, really cool places. You know, you could do, I mean, a lot of them were restaurants or different attractions you could stop at, but you had to follow that route to the second, or one, two, sometimes three checkpoints that you'd have to go through depending on the length of the drive. But then once you did your final checkpoint, you were allowed to either A, go to the track, and if you were camping at the track, or you can, head to your hotel. But yeah, it was
Right.
the drives were just as fun as the track days for sure.
Yeah. I almost look forward to the drives more, especially after some of the days we had.
Yeah.
Man, the drives were nice to kind of decompress a little bit.
Yep.
But
So, were your friendships tested? I'll ask the question.
I would say no, not even close.
no, we were good. We were
Yeah.
good.
Good.
Me and Adam, we're kind of on the same wavelength. Like we get frustrated with the same things, so we're both frustrated. Like it's like we mesh well.
Yeah.
So I mean,
You have a common enemy, the
Yes, 100%. Oh man,
how many miles you put on that pedometer, Adam?
yeah. I put in 52.6 miles in 5 days.
That's insane.
I had to buy new shoes. the old wore the tread patch off the old Pumas.
Damn slave driver in that year view
Yeah,
car, man. I tell you,
slave driver, dude. Not to mention it was the hottest. Like, I mean, it was high 80s, low 90s some days. I mean, other than the first day, but day 2, 3, and 4. I mean, like my sweet farmer's tan, dude. Like,
dude, yeah.
Yeah.
like totally fried myself. Like you couldn't put enough sunscreen on.
Yeah. It was. I mean, I can't thank you enough, dude. Because there amongst all the frustration, which is already hard enough to deal with for us as it is. Like we put that car right back in the lanes. You ran and you got everything. I hop out, shoot, ice. Like we just got. There was one time where we had to hot lap it. I think it was like not even 10 minutes. It was like a 7-minute turnaround, and then I didn't even have enough time to put on my Hans or any of that stuff.
I'm like, let's go, dude.
It was, yep. Like they're literally about to. I'm the last one for AB Radial, and like I had to go, or else they were going to start running other cars.
Yep.
So I just hopped in, put my belts on, didn't have my gloves on, didn't have my Hans on. Like it was like not the safest situation, but like had to do what we had.
But
to
I
do.
think that's when we threw up that. Was it 881 or 890 we ran there?
That was like the 80 something,
Yeah.
I think, that day, and then that was our turn in pass. But I mean, God, man, that was. We don't. I hope we never struggle like that again, ever.
Yeah. It, during one of the checkpoints was the Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
But we had, as you know, most of you know, like I'm a weather nut, so. Like
Yep.
clouds were dark, and I'm like, Bryan, I think we should probably not stick around. We are in Iowa, and I'm sure y'all have seen the movie Twister. So, like, I know what goes down here, man. I think we should. So we didn't stick around there. We went and saw it, and got right back in the car and got on the road because we don't have wipers, and everything's tinted. headlights, windshield.
Mhm.
It's as dark as you can get. So we did have a light bar though. He did have a light bar that we mounted on the.
The light bar was
That was
sweet.
game changer for sure. Like we gave everybody an X-ray as we passed them on incoming traffic. So
We only got 7 people that flashed their brights at us, though. I thought we were going to get way more people, but hey,
yep,
whatever.
yeah, it was
Not bad.
not bad at all.
So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was, super noteworthy. I mean, granted, the ups and downs during the racing week, the drives were great. The Ohio boys were great to be with all week.
What a group of people! What a bunch of studs, man! That was hell of a group of guys there.
Yeah, a lot of fun with those guys. It's just one of those things that if the car is in one piece and can do it, I'm going to try to do it every year.
Oh, for sure.
It's just phenomenal time. So
I think the last thing that I wanted to kind of interject and ask you guys was, we have our channel and Bryan, you have yours.
Mm-hmm.
And going through this drag and drive event, can you imagine filming like people like Cletus do and doing editing and posting the videos and all the other stuff they do?
Mm-hmm.
What a machine those guys are.
Oh yeah,
I tell you, we tried, and then we just gave up because just couldn't do it.
And we were doing 2-3 minute videos just saying, hey, this is what we're doing this day. Well, you saw I tried to post on our page, and it just got to the point where I was literally like, I have to pick and choose what I do today. Well, for one, we had no cell service out in the middle of wherever, but I couldn't imagine trying to race the car, set up the car, appease like the millions of people that seemed like that crowded him, just using Cletus as an example. And still like have a mindset to where, you got fans, you got a car, you got a race, you got to drive, and his car broke. So now kudos to that guy. Not something I could do. There's no way.
I totally agree. Dude, Adam, could you imagine on day 2 when we were struggling having all those people around us? Like, there's no way.
I was struggling putting the damn bullhorn back on, trying to find a damn clamp. So no, somebody would walk up to you and talk, because people still did. I mean, you met a bunch of people that, had followed you from over the years. Was, hey man, finally come out to see you.
I know that's what's tough because like, dude, I came out here to see this car and we're in the middle, we're in the trenches. There's a battle going on. And you got to stop what you're doing, take a breath. And it's very important because they support you and you want to make sure that you recognize that. So, certainly appreciative of everybody who came over and said hello and all that stuff, even though at times it's tough to kind of stop what you're doing when you're in the middle of battle basically. But yeah, it's just a cool experience. I mean, what was it? It was day, the tech and test day. We had that one couple, they came up to us and we're like, dude, we've been following you for so long. I was just like, man, it means a lot that you came out over here to say hello to me. Cause to me, we're just regular dudes doing this. Right. Yeah. So, it's a real cool feeling.
It was super cool to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I recommend it. It was a hell of a deal.
So what do you think? So maybe in Dustin, we're at 33 minutes right now. I don't know.
Don't worry about that.
Okay. I figured maybe kind of go into a little detail on what we pack in the trailer I don't know if that's something that we want to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's interesting. That'd be interesting.
So, in our trailer, because, the thought was A+, but it didn't work out quite perfectly as far as tongue weight went and everything. But the plan for the trailer was to have all 4 fuel jugs, and then a platform for the generator, have all that. But once everything was said and done and we're doing all the testing of the tongue weight and everything, we couldn't load it like that. Thankfully, Dan's trailer had he just had some big farm trailer, and we were able to put some of our stuff in his. But normally, my ideal trailer setup would be the capability to have 4 jugs with good known fuel in it, and then be able to hold a generator. Because I think on days, it was day 4 when Dan was doing the trans swap, the generator came in handy because we needed lights and, people are charging their phones and had speakers going and all that stuff. So the generator's good to have and then also a fan. But as far as parts go, all we had really was we had the clutch cable, we had spare sensors, we had miscellaneous like hose clamps, push lock fittings, a small bag that had like all your electrical stuff, so like an ohm meter, extra wire, soldering iron, things like that. I did have on tow a spare ring and pinion set because I did shear off one of those 2 years ago. Spare clutch disc. I had a nice big DeWalt tool thing that had basically all the different tools you'd need. Jack stands, ramps,
A tent. Number one thing.
the tent.
Tent.
The tent was huge.
The sun was.
Tent was huge.
Man, dude, that heat was disrespectful on day 2, 3, and 4, to say the least.
Yeah, the tent was a huge lifesaver. And then different, obviously your street tires, track tires, so you can switch. We did have a small leaf blower with us because in the rain the car struggles with getting rid of all the water out of the fenders and everything. So we used that on the one day we got stuck in the rain to blow all that out. But we also used that a little bit to try to cool the clutch off too. But the battery was not up for the task on that little guy. It would only last for like 5 minutes and then it'd be done. So it's like, well, that was a waste. So,
I call that my idiot Shannon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So, but that was basically it. I'm trying to think if I would even bring anything else, but I mean, we're at the point with this car, especially, financially and everything. We're like, if we hurt something with the motor, we're done. If we blow the trans up, I mean, if Dan had his spare trans, we would be able to get through the week, but I'm not going to go seek out a faceplated trans to try to finish to get the helmet. I would just, finish the week and just be done. Like there's people that'll go all out.
Yeah.
Rebuild motors, do all that stuff. Like, and that's, dude, I commend those people. Like but there's just, financially and effort wise for me, like, I know what I'm willing to do and what I'm not. Like, just say, hey, it is what it is type of thing. Right.
The guy that actually won the stick shift shootout or the stick shift helmet, Bob Gruber, they actually had that car tore down at Motion Raceworks, one of the checkpoints, like had the cylinder heads off, a pin come out of the camshaft and got down into the timing set and bent every single valve, wasn't it? I believe, like destroyed the top end of this engine. And so they rebuilt this engine, or rebuilt the top half of this engine, and end up, I'd say, probably swallowed 7 or 8 rockers on the trip.
Yeah.
Because it would drive like 30 minutes, and the old rockers, they would snap rocker arms. So these guys are, kudos to them. Like I said, it's not something I would have done. I mean, at some point we would have been like, yeah, we'll just go back and get the trailer, but they stuck after it.
I mean,
yeah, it was nuts watching those guys thrash on this thing, like to get it from
they
track to track.
They earned it. They earned it for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they did things that a lot of people wouldn't. So that speaks to them, and they earned it for sure. So, because I know that if we bent all the valves in our car or in our car, we'd be calling a tow truck. We'd be done.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
But I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's basically it for the most part. But yeah, Dustin, you gotta do one of these, man. You gotta do one of these.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think, like Adam said, one of the local ones, either the Drop the Hammer or the Heads Up Hustle. There's 2 of them. Right. The Heads Up Hustle's one's coming up, but they usually do that one in July. And then the Drop the Hammer one was a couple weeks before Six Summer, I think. Or a week. I can't remember if it was a week before or 2 weeks before. But that one's only – Drop the Hammer was 131, Mid-Michigan 131, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, and then then Heads Up Hustle is going to be
here in Milan.
I believe Milan, Mid-Michigan, Milan.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, that's like like if you want to get your feet wet, you just want to see what it's about, see if it's something you want to do.
Right.
Like it's a perfect scenario. And I mean, like Adam said, you and your boy doing that would be, man, that's a memory that like Danny Hart and his boy, Adam, Danny Hart and his boy. That was so cool to see them two just out there doing it. And man, I hope one day that me and my son can do something like that too.
Oh yeah, that was
so
super cool to see the families and like husband and wife. You know, there was like two sisters out there, like older sisters doing it. I mean,
oh yeah,
like dude, it's nuts. Like you just literally go and grab a friend, a family member, kin, whatever, and jump in a car with some extra shit and go have fun. It was absolute blast. Like I said, it was hands down the best event I've ever done in my life.
Nice.
It was.
I'm so happy to hear you say that, man.
Yeah.
That's high praise coming from him for sure.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, and our struggles coming through, you know, especially days 2 and 3, where after day 3 we looked at each other in the eye and we're like, "Are we having fun?" And we're like, yeah, but we could be having more fun."
Yeah.
My word of advice is, don't get caught up in like the standings. Don't get caught up in trying to chase times. You know, just have fun and finish. Like those are like the two main priorities. And we realized that after day 3, we got caught chasing.
Oh, dude.
And that was not. That's not normally what we do, and we're not prepared to do stuff like what we did. Yeah. It just was one of those things where like, all right, we're just going to finish this out. However it finishes out, it finishes out. We're going to take a step back. We're going to slow down. We're going to start running how we know we're going to run this car, how we run this car, you know? So like, and think about it, Adam, knowing that we were, you know, after it's all said and done, we stayed late Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Like, why were we rushing so hard on Tuesday and Wednesday to turn the car around?
I don't know.
I mean, at that rate, it's like, why let's just wait it out. Let it cool off, wait it out.
Well, in the heat of the moment, we didn't think of that. We just know that other cars were performing and we were not, and we had to hurry up and get back up there. But that's part of the mindset that you just got to hurry up and get back up there, because they would call, like, let's say it was 4 different classes. I think they had AB radial, AB slick, and then C and D were just different classes, like more like the bracket style, not bracket, but index style, where you could like dial your own. And then they would run all those in different orders, and then at the very end they would do an all run, no prep. What you get is what you get, and it's literally your last chance to make a pass. And then track's all closed at 2 or 3, and you were done. Like, if you didn't get to turn in the slip that you wanted to turn in, you were SOL.
Yeah. Another thing too, though, is because on most of the days they would do the AB slick, AB radial, CD, whatever. And then they would rerun AB slick and AB radial again, and they would prep accordingly for those. So, but we didn't care. Like, we hot lapped, I think on day 2, we hot lapped the car twice on the first round of AB radial. It's like, why did we do that? Like, why did we do that? Like, we could have just relaxed. We should have just ran our race and know how this car behaves in certain situations. We just had to get back to knowing what we know how to do with this car, and instead of chasing. So that's like one thing that stuck with me after this whole deal. You know, we know how this car works and how we do things with this car, and we have to stick to that. Yeah. And then however it ends up, because either way, we're going to get in the car, we're going to go to the next track, and we're going to have a blast. Yep. And was one of the things on days 2 and 3 that I'm kind of regretful that we didn't focus on. Yeah. But you know, it took going through that for us to recognize that. And now we know moving forward, hey, it is what it is, man. You know?
Yep. So, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I promise not to open up an Excel spreadsheet, but as a continuous improvement professional, it sounds like you guys got a lot of action items and things that you can use as lessons learned for next time.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
So, you know, should be better from here on out.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. That was Car's got some upgrades coming to it. It needs a little help, but car got the snot beat out of it for a week straight. 650 plus miles. We made more passes in 1 week than the car made in probably 2 years. And
well, I wouldn't say that much, but I mean, last year we made 40 passes in the car.
It felt like we made 42, in that week. So
yeah, I know it felt like we made 42, but we made 19 passes at Six Summer.
Yeah.
So we already did half the passes that we made in the car last year in 1 week. Like it's.
How many passes did you end up making in last year's when everything was going decent? You only made like 7.
Tech and test, we made 2, so 4. I think we only made 9 or 10.
Yeah, just to put it in perspective of how things can vary. Right. You have one bad day.
Nearly double. Yeah,
one bad day and it can send you over the edge.
Yeah, and it did.
Yep.
But no, I mean, I guess the last thing I could say is, I tip my hat to, Danny Hart, Bob Gruber, those guys. I wish, obviously we wanted that helmet, but at the same time, it is what it is and couldn't be happier for them.
Yep.
And we'll be back.
Yep.
So, yep.
All right. Well, you guys got anything else, or you ready to close this out?
No, and I appreciate you doing this, Dustin, because, like I mentioned, like me and Adam tried to do something while we were doing the race, and it didn't work. And, being able to come in and work with you guys and do a recap and have the chat is really cool. And it's something that I look forward to sharing on my platforms as well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and thanks for coming on and everything. I appreciate that. And
of course,
treating our boy good here and everything's great. So
I guess the last thing I want to mention, it's unrelated to what we just did, Adam, but we need to get your car back out. We have to get that 8-second slip.
Yeah, hopefully we can slate a time that works for everybody and just figure it out,
Yeah.
Like I said, I was more worried about the car performing in the heat since I hadn't done that yet, and it was hot as hell the day we went. And I mean, the car did fine, just fought track issues. I probably won't go back to Mid-Michigan, at least not for the next. I mean, the next time. It may be a 131 deal. I don't know. I may have to just suck it up and just go out there. I mean, the track's always great.
We could do like one of their Friday test and tunes, or even I would say like a Milan test and tune on a Wednesday is similar to Mid-Michigan.
Yeah, me too.
In a sense. But 131, God, Sam's got that track so good. It's like impossible to make it bad. Like, when you go out on that track, you can do what that car would probably do it off the trailer at 131 without even thinking.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
All right. Well, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you liked this episode, please like it. If you really liked it, comment down below. If you didn't like it, subscribe for more. Thanks. See you later.
See ya.
Adios.